Hi, welcome to Spotlight with Snowcap, Season 1. Today on our series, we have Rimsha Reen from Fireside Ventures. Hi Rimsha, welcome.
I am Balika.
I know
Thanks
it's,
for having me here.
no, it's so nice to meet you in person after all those remote meetings. And personally, it has been a delight for me to know you. But introducing you to our, larger audience, why don't you tell us more about who Rimsha Reen is and how your journey has been in this space?
No, thank you for having me and making me the first hero of your series. So quickly, a little bit about me. I'm with Fireside Ventures, which is an early stage VC that invests in consumer brands. I've been with them for 3 years, where I lead Fireside Ventures Sustainability Charter, which is called Value of Good, where we try to work with our portfolio companies right from sourcing, which is finding the companies, all the way to making the deal, to then building them, scaling them, growing them, and embedding sustainability in the way they do their business, right? I come from a background of the social sector. I was with the Venture Philanthropy Fund, working with nonprofits for about 7 years prior to that, and with an urbanization sustainability think tank for 2 years before that. So always been in this sector. I love what's happening in this sector, and I think having sustainable but commercially viable solutions is definitely the way to solve for a lot of the climate impact and sustainability issues at large. So super excited to have this conversation.
Was there a specific moment that instilled or brought you into this whole sustainability space?
When I read that question, I was a little bit like, is there a moment, or has it been like, sum of parts all adding together? Many different things, right? I think the way I grew up, I remember very vaguely my birthdays as a child. My parents would take me to an orphanage and spend time there, right? So I think somewhere your childhood always ingrains the values in you and the way you look at the world. But I would give Dasra, which was the fund I was at before Fireside, a lot of credit. I was there for 6 to 7 years. I had the opportunity to go to the remotest areas of Bihar, of Udaipur, of Jharkhand, and really seeing the realities of the ground, right? What's happening with people every single day and how each aspect makes or breaks their lives, right? Whether that's education, whether that's healthcare, whether that's climate, and now that's the area I'm deep diving a lot more on. So I don't think there's one moment, but the last 10 years, every single year, there's been something that's added a lot to me.
So Rimsha, tell me, why sustainability is on the agenda of Fireside and what motivates the whole fund to be so vocal in its commitment towards?
See, I mean, 2 points that we'll have to, think about here. One, the role consumer brands play generally in driving sustainability or responsibility as an agenda, right? Even the UN has listed down one dedicated SDG towards it, which is responsible production and consumption, right? At a global level, we know that packaging, which uses plastic and therefore carbon and so on and so forth, is 55 to 60% driven by the FMCG industry, right? Also, the fact that consumer brands play across the value chain of sourcing, producing, selling, and then post-consumer management, right? So they have a role to play across a very large value chain where the way they do things can define so many stakeholders' well-being, right? And stakeholders could be human stakeholders, resource stakeholders, climate stakeholders, so many, right?
True.
It is playing across a very dense and intense value chain, right? So that is the reality, right? What we realize at Fireside is because we come in so early, right? We're almost investing in companies when they're like 2 to 3 years old. They're still setting their fundamentals. We're almost the first institutional funder in a lot of these consumer brands, right? That this is probably the time you can actually advise, mentor, and even work with the founders to help them understand what responsible production and consumption means, right? And also what's been heartening to see at Fireside, if you think about our Fund 1, where we have players like Mama Earth, right? Yoga Bar, Vadham. These founders, all millennials in their own way, somehow had sustainability ingrained in the way they were already building businesses, right? Mama started by saying that I will be toxin free, chemical free, sulfate free, so on and so forth, which if you reflect back 10 years from now was not necessarily the narrative. They started doing things like for every sale they make, they will plant a tree, right? They started pioneering plastic offsetting much before EPR became a cause, right? Badha was started by this young founder who wanted to source organic, clean, raw material ingredients directly from farmers, because his narrative was that probably the farmers are not benefiting in the current tea value chain, right? So how can I do that? And he also started a program called Teach Me, which was giving 1% of his revenue back to the children of the tea farmers, right? So with Fund 1, we saw that our founders had that consciousness. With Fund 2, what we saw is actual real implementation. Slurp Farm saying, I'm building a climate resilient brand, right?
Yeah.
Gyno Veda saying, I'm taking Ayurveda and solving for a socially tabooed issue of menstrual health, right? We saw a lot of this happen. And now with Fund 3, which is what we're currently deploying, it's amazing to see our founders actually change packaging on their own, right? So we recently announced the investment in Happy Planet. And you'll see the branding, this thing we're using, our packaging is sustainable, right? More than the ingredients, right? So we've seen in the last 7 to 8 years, founders and their business models having that sensibility in them. So if you marry the two, right, this whole founder ecosystem changing, becoming conscious, and consumer brands being responsible for a large value chain, it was but obvious that Fireside needs to also build their own understanding, but also build their, I guess, their implementation towards it, right? So we did a few things. We signed up for UNPRI, which is us volunteering and saying that we will ingrain ESG in the way we do things. We partnered with Snowcap to ensure our pre-deal, our diligences are done on ESG mandates. And I was brought in and we built a team to dedicatedly make sustainability a vertical within the way we do things, right? We're also going to be releasing our first impact report shortly. So there's a lot that's happening where we feel we're responsible from the industry point of view. We're responsible to the founders who are coming in. And I guess the final point probably is that our partnership, which is the four partners and co-founders and founder, they come from a background of HUL, Dabur, Wipro, where these large industries have vocally said that they want to change the way things are done, right? So we're very inspired by the way HUL does things. Our own tagline is to do good and therefore do well, right? Which is saying you will be successful as long as you do good, right? So all of this, I think, makes it very, very inherent to the way we do things. And I think we're really excited also by the ecosystem changing in the way that solutions are coming up. You're seeing so many new packaging companies come up that are using alternate materials. You're having dedicated startups on ESG, right? There's a lot happening in the ecosystem, and we want to be a part of it. And there's no reason not to be a part of it, right? So I think that's what drives us, the three industry founders and the legacy we have of our partnership.
It was really interesting to see during our conversations of working together with so much of clarity about the impact. You will come onto the calls or we'll sit down and we'll say, guys, let's build it, but this is what we are looking for.
Yeah, that was super fun.
I mean, like, it was not about like, no, we just have to do it for the sake of it, or we just have to do because we want to penalize people or what.
Correct.
No, because we really want to do good.
Yeah.
Like that was an underlying message which has been through and through.
Yeah. I remember when we were defining our own pre-deal question.
Exactly.
One of the points we kept saying was we will not make a recommendation if we don't have a solution to give for it, right?
Absolutely.
Because you don't want companies to just have this on paper and not be able to implement it, right? So that is always a driving force, that any recommendation and the timeline to that recommendation has to come from a solution-oriented point of view. And that's why we had so much back and forth on how do I define the recommendations.
Yes, right? and I think we actually also had a lot of learning in this space, right? Because while we understand what companies need to do, what reduction, what improvements, but how does an investor actually sees it? What is that delta? I mean, it was so fun to have those insights coming from you and to kind of co-create that experience that not just serves you, but also the portfolio companies. But like, getting a little more into the conversation, I personally was very excited to see Value of Good
Yeah.
when you first released it. You happened to mention Impact for Good,
Yeah.
right? Tell me more about it.
Yeah. So value of good is in a nutshell, as I said earlier, right? It's do good, do well.
Yeah.
Right. It's pretty much saying that we've had our own journey of defining value of good, right? Leading on from saying, is ESG value of good? Is only impact value of good? Is just being sustainable value of good, right? But really what we've arrived at is that value of good is making sure that your stakeholders benefit more from just the finances benefiting, your stakeholders also benefit, right? So here we've divided it into three different aspects. One is saying how are you being planet first in everything you do, right? Which is saying place doing less harm and doing more good for the environment, but also the communities, right? Which is the 1% CSR initiatives I've told you. None of these companies are obligated by the government to do CSR, but they have taken it on themselves. So planet first becomes a critical piece. And why? Because I explained, right? The value chain of sourcing raw material ingredients inherently needs companies to think about the planet, right? For example, water is such a critical part in the way things are produced. With ground tables reducing, companies need to think about what they're going to do with water, right? So planet first is critical for us. Second becomes people first, which is, I guess, S of ESG in a way. That is two aspects. One is internal employees, your people. Are you doing good to them as well? Because that's what will inherently build your business, right?
True.
That's one part of people first. But people first for us is also around diversity. Not just gender diversity, but also bringing in other communities, right? We have Slurp Farm again that's put down targets like 5% of their employee base will be people with some form of disabilities, right? Fable Street, which is a fashion company, is very vocal about saying that we have 3 to 5% of our employees who are from the LGBTQ community, right?
Wow.
So we're seeing all of this happens, which is why people first becomes very critical for us. And finally, since we're a consumer brand, consumer first is the final angle of it in the way we look at value of good, which means that brands have an ownership of educating their consumers on doing good as well, right? Which is saying, let's use products that are better for you and we will give you those products, right?
Yeah.
And of course, the whole process of making sure you're giving your consumers what they want, how they want, so on and so forth. But education awareness becomes a critical part of it. And I guess finally, what's also happening within Fireside is we're investing a lot in the health and wellness space,
Yeah.
which inherently improves quality of life, right? So that we're seeing as a direct link to being consumer.
So, Rinsha, continuing on this conversation, tell us more about what role does ESG assessment play in the Fireside assessment process, and how does Fireside manage to inspire and engage with these early stage companies in their journey?
Yeah. So, as Ambalika mentioned, value of good is almost like a DNA of philosophy for us. ESG becomes the framework that helps us deliver on value of good, right? We actually started leveraging ESG as a framework and as a tool back in 2021 itself.
Yeah.
I would probably say that we were one of the early stage VCs. PEs have been doing this for a very long time. But as an Indian early stage VC, I would say we were one of the first few ones to start doing it in the way we started implementing it, right? What we do is across the value chain of investment fund now, which is how do you source, how do you build a portfolio, and how do you then help them scale, right? ESGs across all these three steps, which means that when we're sourcing, and we have to make certain documents, right? We have 2-pagers, which then goes to the investment committee.
Sure.
We then do our diligence, which finds out on the legal framework, on financial frameworks, and now ESG frameworks. What is the situation of a company? How are they good? Where are their weaknesses? Where are flags also, right? So across this, we've integrated ESG, which helps us actually institutionalize sustainability, value of good, and the whole responsible production with our companies, right? So when you talk to them, when you talk to the founders on day one saying, so do you know ESG? And they say no, that's not a flag for us. That is a cue for us to say that let's work with you on this. Sourcing has ESG diligence, which is all done third party for us, right? And that's where Snowcap for us enters. We treat it as equally as we would treat a legal diligence as a financial diligence, which means that we give conditions
Yeah.
to our companies before the money goes into their banks.
Yeah.
So these are early stage companies, so we can't tell them to change every single thing. Policies, governance, and a little bit of packaging becomes main priorities for us as conditions before the money goes in. We've also put in a step where we say our board members, so every investment we make, almost every investment we make, we also take a board seat. The board members sign off on the ESG roadmap,
Okay.
right? Which means there's an accountability coming in implementing it, right?
Yeah.
And what we also help deliver when on the second stage, which is portfolio building, we've built our own ecosystem of solution providers to help these companies implement the roadmap solutions, right?
Yeah.
So there again, it's moving away from institutionalization into implementation, right?
Yes.
And finally, as companies are scaling, what we do, and this becomes a little bit 1 or 2 years after the investment has been made, we then start working with these companies on dedicated areas, which is saying that let's now sit and see strategically what can you do at a sustainability level and marrying it to your ESG roadmap, right? Which is really saying that, for example, for a company, cost reduction is a main thing and cost efficiencies is a main thing. Can we talk about reducing the grammage of plastic they use in their packaging? And therefore, there's plastic reduction, but also logistics costs are reducing, right?
Yeah.
So that's something we started doing now in the cohort of the Fund 2 companies, which have all reached more than 80 crore annualized revenue, trying to hit a 500 crore, right? Here, we talk strategic interventions. So if I summarize the journey is really at a starting point, let's put in policies, governance, put in conditions, almost the carrot stick approach of getting ESG done, moving on to implementation and giving them solution providers for certain quick wins, certain good to haves, and then taking that on to a journey of really programmatic approach towards strategic interventions, all leveraging ESG as a roadmap, right? So it's a little bit of bottom up meets top down. We've done that with Snowcap also, who's doing up pre-deals, right? All the diligences, they sign a questionnaire, they undertake a questionnaire. We get to know the baseline of these companies, and that helps us identify risks, what are the areas of improvement, right? So it's internal and external in the kind of support we provide, where the entire organization rallies behind it, board member, deal lead, and then experts. And then expert dedicated external partners who help specialize and implement solutions. And that's the way it's going to happen, right? It's a very complex situation. There is no one-stop solution. Even within consumer brands, what needs to be solved for F&B versus food and beverage versus beauty and personal care versus a mattress company is very different. So you need dedicated, specialized support. And I guess, it takes a village, I guess, in the end to solve for complex problems.
So, Reemsha, please share your thoughts about how the Fireside and Snowcap collaboration has come forth till date.
It's back to what, 2021 now? Almost 3 years ago. Almost like as soon as I joined Fireside, I started engaging with Snowcap, right? And I think when we entered the partnership, our objective was very, very clear, right? What we wanted was to know what ESG is for the deals that we're making before the deal closes. We wanted to integrate and institutionalize ESG within these founders and not make it daunting for them. So therefore, the length mattered, the kind of questions mattered. And finally, what was super critical for us, I think, was the fact that we're early stage and we're very consumer brand focused, right? So it had to be tailored to the stage and the sector we were functioning in, right? And I think all of that was what was worked on and delivered with this engagement with Snowcap, right? We had 2 parts to it. One was defining a very small questionnaire, which is what we call pre-deal, right? And what was a post-deal, which was to say that after these companies are in our portfolio, what more can we do with them, right? I think 2 or 3 things happened through this journey, which was really incredible to see, is the commitment we saw from Snowcap in delivering what we wanted and what we needed, right? as I said, the objectives were so clear that it had to be super customized in the way it was done. We also didn't want our founders to feel like we're asking too many questions. So how we ask those questions, how we sort of make pop-ups and like eliminate certain aspects was very, very important for us. And I think the fact that Snowcap helped us understand what E means, what S means, and where governance enters, keeping in mind the stage of the companies, helped me and also Fireside understand what ESG really, really is, right? So that was really nice to see. And I think you were always in our beck and call. We needed anything changed. We needed anything altered. We needed it to be specific to a company. That was very, very helpful. And I think what also helped make this so successful was the fact that we could give the founders a report card at the end of filling the questionnaire, right? A lot of times these questionnaires are just questions you fill and then you don't know what the outcome of it is. We at least managed to make that snippet recommendation page for our founders where they could see what was high risk, low risk, and therefore what was the recommendation for them. And the version the fund saw was very different, right? Just very more detailed, more red, amber, green in its nature, right? So the fact that you could have two versions out of one report or one questionnaire was all our demands, and I think that Snowcap sort of delivered, right? That was really nice to see and really incredible that we could deliver on it. Yeah.
No, it has been an incredible journey for us at Snowcap as well because, we learned along the way as in what it really means for an early stage company to get into it and then to not be bogged down by it, right? To still stay committed and cater to the investor requirement, but continue building the business that they intend to.
What we set out to do was institutionalize ESG for our companies. That is still so important for us. And I know slightly broken record, but that is very, very important for us. What we also did when we signed up for UNPRI is we put down a policy to say that we want a portfolio that adheres to the best governance practices. We want a portfolio that will think about environment from a decarbonization point of view, right? And that fairness, equality, diversity, the frameworks of ESG, but from an outcome point of view, we've put it out there. It's on our website. If you go, the policy is up there. You go to UNPRI, you will see it there, right? You can't deliver on it without knowing what your portfolio's baseline is, right? So definitely having that as a base was important for us. And imagine doing this on Excel. And I know we started doing this on Excel and that was just terrible. It was just so terrible in the sense of knowing what is happening. How do you make it cumulative? How do you really see patterns? How do you make recommendations, right? So I think definitely the objective of not making it daunting, like I said in the earlier bit for founders, definitely met. Tailor-made to consumer brands and definitely met. Now the journey is how do we take this and make it stronger and maybe do something on thought leadership, right?
Yeah.
And say this is a consumer brand landscape, new age consumer brand landscape, right? So I would say tick to the entire objectives we set out to do.
What do you think how technology and what Snowcap brings in as a technology in the ESG assessment and sustainability space altogether has enabled or simplified and streamlined Fireside's journey?
Yeah. In my point of view, technology plays a role in 2 points, right? Getting a baseline and what could be an LCA, could be a questionnaire, could be an assessment.
Yeah.
The nomenclature is very, very different, but in the end, technology will tell you what your baseline journey really is. Where are you compared to other organizations? Where are you compared to the other sectors? Where are you compared to global standards, right? And having that as a tech front, I think is very, very important. I think the other role technology really plays in all of this is what we've managed to solve for is giving recommendations there.
Yeah.
Telling companies and telling sectors or telling global leaders, whosoever, that this is what can be done given your baseline, right?
So Rimsha, thank you so much for being with us and giving your valuable time. I mean, I look forward to this journey with Fireside, and we are really excited to introduce you and Fireside as our first climate hero. And it's extremely motivating to see when you as an individual is also passionate about the work that you do. So extremely thankful. This has been an incredible journey, and we look forward to, much more incredible work.
No, thank you.
Forward
It's been
with Fireside.
pleasure. I think upwards and onwards is what they say, right?
Absolutely.
No, my pleasure. My pleasure.